we were just talking about who's going to signal. It's since you guys are presenting together, the time thing works a little bit differently. You obviously, I'm like, let me hide behind here and talk to you. Are you guys have you timed your presentation? Do you know roughly?
Yes.
Around 45.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're going to try to talk a little faster than usual, too, just in case.
Yeah, and I mean 45 is fine. So I think Professor Tyler's going to signal you when you're about halfway through. But since obviously you're presenting together, we're not trying to like rush someone else up here or whatever. So that gives us a little time. But yeah, you want to probably have at least 5 minutes for questions.
Okay.
We plan to.
Awesome. And I was going to ask you what your title is to make sure I said it right, but I see it right there. So
You know weird words to pronounce.
yeah. Although I'm ready for it.
When do you want me to tell you time? Like,
Halfway is fine.
okay.
Halfway, yeah.
Do you need something else?
No.
Okay.
I think we're all good.
I think we're good.
Well, we'll probably start if you guys are ready.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I think we're ready.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Welcome. It's so nice to see you all here. Thank you so much for supporting our honor students. We really appreciate you. I'm Dr. Cook. I'm the coordinator of the honors program. We have lots of honors committee folks here. We want to definitely give a special shout out to the mentor of these two fabulous students, who is right here. I might let one of you say his. I don't want to mispronounce your name in front of everyone.
You can go ahead.
Thank you so much for coming, Dr. Nudge. We really appreciate you.
You're welcome. Look forward to it.
Yay. So we appreciate your mentoring. We've had so many mentors showing up and working with our honors graduates this semester. We very much appreciate that. So without further ado, I will get out of the way and let our last Capstone presenters of the week present. They wanted to present together, which we love. So I'm so excited that they wanted to do that. I appreciate their mentors suggesting that they do that. I appreciate them collaborating so amazingly together. These two students also presented at the interdisciplinary conference, and it was just a soaring success. We're extraordinarily proud of them. Without further ado, The Evolution and Emotional Power of Music by Ian Creed and Hailey Then.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our capstone presentation, Weatherford College's first ever duo capstone presentation. So today we're going to delve into the evolution and emotional power of music, bridging historical and cognitive perspectives. So before we begin, we want to tell you just a little bit about ourselves.
So my name is Ian. I'm in my 4th semester getting my associates in fine arts here. And I'll be your guide to the musicological historical journey of music theory.
And my name's Hailey. I'm also in my 4th semester here at Weatherford College. I'm a music major as well. And I'm here to explore the cognitive and psychological dimensions of music with you. So this is going to be a very interactive project. We'll have a lot of audio examples and fun little games for you guys. If you don't mind participating in those, I think it'll make it a whole lot more fun. And it'll give you the best experience and let you walk away with something out of it.
So we will be embarking on a journey to understand music's dual nature with its historical roots and its cognitive impact.
So our exploration, it includes the fundamental elements of musical composition and how they resonate within us.
So in this presentation, we'll be exploring the relationship between historical developments and cognitive foundations in Western music theory,
An introduction to cognitive music theory,
advancements of pitch collections and how they are fundamental elements in music composition,
and our interactions and influences through music.
and our 4 sections that we'll be going through are an introduction to music theory,
Advancements through the eras,
cognitive insights into pitch collections,
and the future of music theory. Introduction to music theory. So imagine a world without music. It's really a colorless thought, isn't it? Imagine your favorite movies and TV shows, your most special memories, weddings, birthdays, graduations, or even your daily routine, waking up. We all depend on music in our lives. In realizing how music defines both our lives' biggest milestones and our everyday rhythm, it shows how deeply meaningful music is to us.
Music is everywhere throughout time too, and it underscores its deep-seated role in human culture and history.
So, you know what that means? It's pop quiz time. So, it's one thing for us to just stand up here and tell you, hey, music is so meaningful in your lives. But, it's another thing for you to really listen and experience how meaningful music is in your life. So, we're going to play a little game, and just if you've ever heard any of these pieces before, just raise your hands.
All right.
Here's the first one.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Okay. Does anybody know what that piece was called? Dr. Smith? All right.
That is correct. Very good. Next piece. Nice.
Who can name that piece? Dr. Cook?
It's Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. right?
Yeah.
Correct. Very good. And our last piece.
I hope they can name it. Yep. We should know that one.
So, from what I've seen, pretty much everyone in this room has raised their hands at least once so far. And brownie points to you if you raise them every single time. But did you have a look around the room when everybody raised their hands? Music has such an incredible impact on us, both individually and as a society. It's so amazing that every single one of us can share this such special thing, this element of humanity. And it's something that together we can come together and know and love.
There we go. Cool. So, music theory is the grammar of music, and it guides us in understanding how pitches, rhythms, and harmonies create the songs we love. Just as grammar structures language, music theory structures our auditory experiences, influencing our cognitive and emotional responses.
Imagine music theory as this toolkit that musicians and composers use to craft music. It includes the rules and guidelines for music, for scales, for chords, for rhythms, and how these elements work together to express emotions and stories through music.
Music theory bridges creativity and understanding, and not only explains why certain pitches sound harmonious together, but also encourages exploration and innovation within music's vast landscape.
So let's look at some of the elements of music. Melody is a series of pitches that move over time and create a tune. So think of melody like a story created through a series of musical pitches, one that you can sing or hum like a main theme of your favorite song.
And then, when different pitches sound together, they create harmony. It's like the background of a painting that supports and enriches the main subject. Harmony adds depth and emotion to music, making it feel complete.
Rhythm is how pitches are timed in space, creating patterns of sound and silence that move the music forward. It's what makes you want to tap your feet or dance along to the beat. So together, melody, harmony, and rhythm form the core of music structure, shaping the narrative and emotional journey of the piece.
These elements also have historical significance, evolving through time to express the shifting moods and stories of different cultures and eras.
So what is a pitch? Pitch is an element of sound. It defines the musical tones that we hear from the deep bass to the high treble, each frequency resonating within our emotions.
Pitch has a musical alphabet. Just as letters form words, pitches create melodies and harmonies in music. In music, they scale from A0 to C8 on a standard piano.
So frequency really matters. The faster the sound wave, the higher the pitch, or the slower the sound wave, the lower the pitch. Understanding this is important for composers and musicians to craft the pitches they desire in a piece.
From a historical standpoint, pitch has been a fundamental element with each era emphasizing different pitch collections to convey the unique cultural narratives. So we talked about pitches, but let's talk about a scale. Scales are essentially musical stairs with each step representing a pitch, and these can climb up and down the scale.
So these pitches, they have special leading tones that are one step below the tonic, which is the starting or ending note of a scale. Like the second to last step of a staircase, it wants to resolve upwards to our tonic, to our destination. In music, this leading tone, it leads your ear right back to the home base, providing a strong sense of completion when the scale reaches its starting point again.
And scales are kind of like building blocks and are groups of pitches that are organized in a mathematical structure.
So let's hear an example of a C major scale. How that second to last note, the leading tone of the scale, wants to lead up to that final destination?
And modes are diatonic pitch collections that have a unique emotion or feeling tied to them. Scales are subsets of these modes and tend to share the same feeling as their parent modes. These can date back as far as the 1400s with Gregorian chant. Modes are categorized into systems to help organize pitches and eventually scales.
So let's dive into the history and advancements of music theory throughout the eras. Music has been a part of human life longer than we could imagine. Music is primal. From African drumming ceremonies to Native American singing rituals or Australian didgeridoos. That's a fun word. The elements of music, of melody, harmony, and rhythm took shape as a way of expressing their cultures.
Music was the ultimate form of communication and expression thousands of years ago. It also was one of the few ways that people could leave their legacy for future generations. Music acted as a preserver of communal history, used to pass down stories, traditions, and values from one generation to the next.
So let's talk a little bit about ancient Greece. The ancient Greeks were some of the greatest musical innovators. They introduced a whole new system of creating and understanding music called musical modes. They, well, specifically Aristotle, created the concept of ethos, and they linked that to music. And they were some of the first to assert music's influence on the human emotional and ethical character. Pythagoras, who you may know from some of his contributions to mathematics, he was also very deeply interested in music and both the mathematical and emotional links within it.
And the Greeks not only had innovative ways of thinking, but they also invented new musical instruments such as the lyre, aulos, and tambura. Music became an important part of their society, from ceremonies to theatrical performances in everyday life.
So did you know that it was Hucbald of St. Amand who created the very first 2-octave musical scale? Hucbald used a series of tetrachords to construct the scale. So a tetrachord, for some of you new to the term, is a series of 4 notes. And by combining these, Hucbald laid the groundwork for modern musical scales.
Later on, the first modal system, known as the 8-mode system, was developed using the Musica Scalica and its related texts, primarily for composing sacred music. This system categorized chants and other religious pieces in the 8 different modes, which helped standardize and diversify the music of the church.
And speaking of notation, let's talk a little bit about neumes. They are how music was notated before what we see today, which is the 5-line system. Neumes were crucial because they allowed chants to be consistently performed and taught across many regions, and it was a huge step forward in preserving music.
and Charlemagne played a major role in music. He standardized Gregorian chant across all of Europe to unify Christian worship. This not only helped in solidifying the religious practices, but also ensured the same style of singing was taught and used in churches across his empire and beyond.
So this is pretty interesting here. This is what a noom looks like. These are basically the old ways of notating music.
And interestingly, some churches still use this notation today.
Let's talk a little bit about voices and textures. Monophony is music with a single melodic line without any harmonic accompaniment. Here's an example of that for you.
All right. Organum is an early form of polyphony, or music based on an existing melody with at least one added voice to enhance the harmonic structure. This is an example of what organum sounds like.
So you hear how the voices are adding on to each other as time and developments go on. So polyphony is a musical composition that uses multiple independent melodic voices, each with its own melodic contour and rhythm. So this is another texture.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Do you notice how over time with advancements in music, these voices build off of one another to create more complex, interesting harmonies and textures?
The music renaissance. Species theory was introduced by Johann Joseph Fuchs in 1725 through his influential work, Gradus ad Parnassum. Fuchs described how to effectively write multiple musical lines or voices that harmoniously interact with each other, detailing methods involving 2, 3, and even 4 voices, each adding richness and complexity to a piece.
Building on the foundation led by species theory, modal theory took these principles further. It wasn't just about layering voices, it was about how these voices interacted within the modes or scales. This theory provided composers with a framework for crafting melodic lines that are both harmonically sound and melodically compelling.
So the applications of these theories in polyphony were immense. Not only did they allow for multiple parts to play contrasting lines simultaneously, but also ensured that there was a clear, coherent main line. This ability to weave independent lines together, yet maintain clarity and harmony, it was revolutionary. So bards were some of the most important musical storytellers in history. They were essential figures in many ancient societies, using music as a primary means to narrate history, mythology, and cultural values. So in other words, they were important figures that linked music and stories together for the common folk.
Traveling bards brought music and storytelling to the common people, making performances accessible in public spaces and community gatherings. Music during that time was viewed as a sacred or higher form of expression and became something that truly belonged to the people again. Means of composing music also became more widespread.
And during this time, as we talked a little bit about Johann Sebastian Bach with his fugue that we listened to, key signatures emerged, and they add a variety of different colors to music.
One of the hallmark features of this era was the emphasis on harmonic clarity and structure. Composers during this time perfected forms like the sonata, which became foundational in symphonies, sonatas, and chamber music.
And this clarity, it wasn't just about form, it extended to tonality as well. The classical era really solidified the use of major and minor scales as the backbone for melodic and harmonic development. This made music both more structured and more interesting and rich emotionally.
And speaking of expression, let's talk about dynamics. This era saw composers using dynamics and expressive contrast more deliberately. They explored the subtleties of soft and loud, bringing new dimensions of emotion to their music, all within a more refined orchestral palette.
So it's really fascinating how these innovations, clear structures, defined tonal systems, and dynamic contrast, they all came together in this time, and they created music that was both emotionally compelling and structurally sound. This era really set the stage for the complexities of the romantic music that eventually followed.
Another major thing that came out was major and minor scales, which you can now classify scales into these two categories.
Like different flavors or seasonings, these scales evoke different emotional responses, illustrating how our brains interpret different musical structures. We perceive major scales more as like this brighter, cheery piece of music. So let's hear an example of a major scale.
Peace. That was Mozart's Symphony Number 41 in C major Jupiter.
In minor scales, we often perceive them as more darker and somber. Here's an example of that.
Yep. Which that was Mozart's Requiem Mass in D minor.
So just like scales, modes can also be divided into major and minor collections, which give a similar type of response of brighter major or darker minor. So here's an example of a major mode.
That was Scaro Fair from Simon and Garfunkel. And then and that was Battle of Mages from Chrono Trigger by Yugo Kanno.
So major and minor is something that I hope you guys can really feel when you listen to it. And so we've got a special surprise for you guys today. Because we've talked so much about major and minor in this section, we want to share an example with you that'll truly make you understand the importance of major and minor when setting the emotional mood of a piece. So a little something happened to these very famous pieces. Can you tell the difference?
We'll start with Star Wars.
Look at that face.
Honestly, it could be worse.
The happiest destroyer of galaxies right here, guys.
Okay, and then we have Happy Birthday.
Question mark? Happy?
All right, here we go. God, I love music. All right. That one's funny.
So if you can't tell, we flip-flopped. We changed the Imperial March from minor to major and Happy Birthday from major to minor. And it really makes it feel like a completely whole new experience, doesn't it?
Ready?
So emotional valence, it describes the emotions that we feel that are evoked by music. Composers use the quality of music, or major and minor in other words, to control the color and emotion they want to create in a piece. So, for example, when composing the Imperial March for Star Wars, understanding this dark-sided, powerful character of Darth Vader allowed John Williams to create this heavy minor theme representing him. Not the one we just listened to. But something really interesting to explore is how different cultures perceive emotions in music. The association of major scales with happiness and minor scales with sadness isn't actually a universal thing. It's largely a cultural construct. In Western music, this connection has become conventional, and it's widely recognized due to its prevalence in Western art, folk, and culture and popular music. However, these emotional associations can vary significantly across different cultures and musical traditions. So I did a little research on this study of native tribes in northwestern Pakistan, and it shows that they actually perceive music completely opposite of what we do. As we perceive major with happiness and minor with sadness, they perceive minor with happiness and major with sadness. So not every culture perceives it exactly as we do.
Different cultures around the world and across history use a variety of scales and modes to express their ways of life. Today we are mainly talking about Western music theory, but also know that today we live in such a globally connected world that Western music theory has influenced or touched most every culture, except for the most absolutely isolated of people.
Mm-hmm. So now let's turn our attention to the Romantic era, which is a period marked by profound expansions in musical expression.
During this era, we saw a significant expansion in the harmonic language. Composers began incorporating more chromaticism, which not only enriched the textures of their compositions, but also introduced a level of ambiguity that hadn't been as prominent before.
And with this increased harmonic complexity came a deeper emotional expression. Composers like Beethoven, Schubert, and Chopin, they didn't just compose music. They told personal stories, infused with deep emotions that resonated within their audience's hearts on a personal level.
And it's important to note how this period embraced what's known as harmonic dualism. This concept, emerging from German music theory, emphasized that Major and minor keys aren't just opposites. They're complementary, each capable of expressing a large range of positive and negative emotions. So one thing to talk about now is, what are chords? Chords are a group of pitches played together to create harmonies. Chords emerged and were developed during this time period from triads to complex structures, allowing for textured harmonies with multiple pitches playing at the same time.
And as well, chords can also be found in major or minor. Major chords are also associated with the more cheerful, uplifting emotions, while minor chords often convey tension or melancholy. Chords themselves, they form the backbone of most musical accompaniment, setting the emotional tone of a piece.
And clongs are complex theoretical frameworks that aid composers in crafting compositions that move fluidly through different keys or tonalities, enriching the musical narrative.
So, modern music really brought about these new genres and subgenres in the 20th century, including jazz, rock, electronic, hip hop, and more. These styles reflected the rapid cultural and technological changes that influence music creation and composition.
Composers like John Cage, Arnold Schoenberg, and Arvo Pärt challenge the compositional techniques of the past.
The development of film scoring became an integral part of cinematic storytelling. The first use of music with film was actually in 1895, and it was accompanied by a live piano. Since then, iconic composers like John Williams and Hans Zimmer have revolutionized film music with their memorable scores that significantly enhance the emotional impact of films.
The emergence of video game music also grew into a distinct genre. Early simple thematic loops evolved with complex scores that are integral to the experience, with composers like Koji Kondo and Nobuo Uematsu becoming as notable as film composers.
Cognitive insights into pitch collections. What is music cognition? Music cognition is a fusion of fields where psychology, neuroscience, and musicology meet, aiming to unravel the mysteries of our musical experiences.
Music cognition explores how our brains perceive, process, and respond to music, from a single note to complex compositions. It's fascinating how this field mirrors the historical evolution of music theory, both seeking to understand music's essence.
Music cognition is a versatile field and can be applied in education, therapy practices, and performance and composition. What is the role of a composer? Composers are choreographers. So, in my research, I read this one book called Sweet Anticipation by David Huron, where he makes the statement that a composer is really a choreographer of music. It was so influential to me to understand how composers, they truly choreograph, they shape music and mold music, and they mold our anticipation and expectations and take us on this musical journey.
Composers are architects of music, and they use tools such as pitch collections and consonance and dissonance to guide listeners through an emotional and psychological journey.
Their choices in organizing pitches can significantly influence our cognitive response to the musical story they weave, tapping into deep-seated emotional states.
The evolution of pitch collections, or scales and modes, reflect the changing landscape of music history, from Gregorian chants to contemporary compositions. For centuries, pitch collections have been the evolving tools in a composer's toolkit, reflecting changes in musical taste, theory, and technology.
Each era's preference in pitch collections reveals how cognitive understanding and cultural context shape musical expression. From ancient modal systems to contemporary serial techniques, composers have used pitch collections to express their emotions and ideas, pushing the boundaries of musical innovation. So each era's preferred pitch collections mirror the cultural and aesthetic values of that time, providing composers with a language that deeply connects with their audience.
Despite the diverse ways in which pitch collections have been organized and utilized, their central role in enabling composers to structure harmony, melody, and color in music remains unchanged.
Alrighty, folks, I have another game for you today. We're gonna play Guess That Composer. After the music stops, I'll ask you some questions, and please raise your hand if you think you're either familiar with the music or you've heard the composer before.
All right.
Any guesses on who this composer might be? Correct. Next one.
I gotta do this part first. All right. Let's see if it's gonna play.
It's a little soft at the beginning, so you have to be quiet. Has everybody heard this piece? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky, Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy.
Okay.
And our final one for you today. Who's familiar with this piece? It might take a minute to get going for you. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Does anyone know the composer for this one? John Williams. Even if you haven't seen his movies, it's really weird because you already know the soundtrack to it. It just shows how influential he is as a composer. So even though music is constantly changing over time, the role of a composer is timeless. No matter the era and while musical styles and technologies evolve, the fundamental role of a composer remains unchanged, which is to craft sound into meaningful experiences.
Music composition builds on itself. Composers write new compositions using the same foundations of music theory, but complement their work with new ideas to create unique music that has never been done before. Music is the shorthand of emotion. Emotions which let themselves be described in words with such difficulty are directly conveyed to man in music, and in that is its power and significance.
So in words, it's really hard to define the word happy, sad, angry. Emotions are very hard to define. But if we think about happy music, sad music, or angry music, it's a lot easier to imagine that. And it just shows the deep link that music has to human emotions. And it's something that can't be expressed in words. And as we'll continue to explore, composers are able to take advantage of this to create music that evokes certain moods or colors. Did you guys have any questions so far that I could take? I can maybe take one or two.
Oh, well, kind of goes back, but you guys, it said modes on there, and modes,
Mm-hmm.
and it had Dorian, and then it said high, or Ionian.
We will
high.
get to that
Okay,
afterwards.
Mhm.
That's complicated.
Yeah.
All right. So anticipation is the cycle of predictions and reactions. In everyday life, we experience anticipation in even the smallest moments, such as waiting for a traffic light to turn green, expecting the toast to pop out of the toaster, or catching a ball in midair.
Music thrives on setting up patterns that listeners learn to expect, then fulfilling or denying these expectations, evoking emotional responses. I think a large part of our relationship to anticipation and to music has evolved over time. So think about people a long time ago, back when we were hunter-gatherers. We had to anticipate the future in order to survive our everyday life. Now, we might not need anticipations in the same way that we did back then that we do today, but subconsciously, and even in certain situations, it still does play a major role in our lives. So we also experience this same kind of anticipation when we listen to music. We subconsciously predict what is to happen next in a piece, and it either helps us fulfill or violate these expectations. Interestingly, research shows that humans prefer music that is slightly imperfect, keeping us on our toes. It helps us to anticipate what's to come next in a piece. So we're going to explore a little bit about consonance and dissonance, and while we overall prefer sound that has stable consonant frequencies, composers use dissonance as almost like an added seasoning to music, like a chef would add to a dish.
All right.
So this is consonance.
Man, I can't wait for this. All right. And then this is dissonance. Consonance is the blending of pitches that sounds pleasant and stable, while dissonance involves combinations that create tension and a sense of instability. Humans naturally prefer consonance, but dissonance isn't always bad. In fact, it's what makes music more interesting, because by blending consonance with dissonance, composers can create feelings of tension and release in music.
Music in mind and body. Have you ever been listening to great music before and all of a sudden you just feel these chills overtake your body? Emotional responses to music, often in moments of musical climax or profound beauty, can cause a sensation of chills or goosebumps linked to the brain's expectation or reward system. As we were talking before about anticipation, music can either fulfill or violate our expectations, and we emotionally react to those results. When our expectations are violated in positive ways, while we do love the predictable things, the unpredictable is so much more fulfilling to our minds, and thus we feel this incredible psychological response.
Music can also heal us. It can positively influence the respiratory and cardiovascular systems, promoting relaxation, reducing heart rate and blood pressure, and enhancing breathing patterns, demonstrating its therapeutic and harmonizing effects on our body's vital functions. Listening to music also releases endorphins associated with pleasure that can reduce stress and further aid in the healing process.
These effects truly show the deep relationship between music and the mind and body, and it highlights the impact that music has on our well-being.
So music psychology explores how organization of pitch, rhythm, and dynamics affects perception and emotion. Essentially is the study of our psychological interaction with music.
So the way that music is organized can powerfully affect mood, memory, and even social cohesion, or in other words, people's relationships with each other. So did you know that if you listen to music with other people, you'll actually bond better with that other person just because of music's ability to connect people and emotions?
Also, music structure can bring out memories of our life experiences, amplifying its emotional resonance. When we listen to music, our emotional experience is tied to memories of our own life experiences.
The future of music theory. How are we on time?
We're good.
Okay. So far in our presentation, we've introduced cognitive music theory, and we've explored the power of music from past to present. But what does the future hold for music? There are new horizons that await.
There are a variety of applications of cognitive music theory, including music therapy,
Music education,
music composition,
and music technology. So cognitive music theory plays a crucial role in music therapy, helping individuals heal and grow. It provides a framework for understanding how music affects the mind and body, guiding therapeutic practices in music therapy. Recent research shows that music therapy can help heal patients with a variety of mental or physical disorders, such as Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, paralysis or stroke survivors, and mood disorders, or more.
Historically, music's therapeutic qualities have been recognized, but now we understand the science behind its healing powers with so many recent discoveries in the field.
Music plays a crucial role in children's cognitive development, improving skills such as memory, attention, and problem solving by boosting brain function. Children who learn an instrument or are more exposed to music growing up gain many benefits from doing so. As more studies are being done on this topic and show results, I believe that music is going to have a more important role in our schools.
Understanding cognitive music theory can also change the way that music can be taught in schools, emphasizing active engagement, creativity, and understanding music's importance on and impact on the brain. My school would not have the music program that I quite was looking for, and we were mainly taught just to play notes on a page. I believe that these discoveries and changes in music can help music flourish in schools and allow children to experience something more wonderful. Cognitive music theory has revolutionized film scoring by informing composers on how music can manipulate emotions and expectations, enhancing the storytelling power of cinema. As we mentioned earlier, could you imagine your favorite movies without music? And what if Darth Vader's theme was in major instead of minor? What we explore in this presentation is something that composers constantly consider when creating music for movies because it is important to make the music emotionally resonant and memorable.
So another innovative area of cognitive music theory that is booming recently is music advertising. So music is crafted based on cognitive principles to influence consumer behavior and brand perception. Strategically designed jingles and soundscapes can trigger specific emotional responses and memories. So think about the commercials that you watch every single day and realize they have a composer behind those little jingles, and they're trying to craft this perfect music to represent the product that they're trying to sell and the emotions that they want you to feel from it. So how many of you have ever used platforms like Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, or anything similar? So cognitive music theory has a lot of applications in this, especially with the recent algorithms. Algorithms like Spotify, Pandora, and Apple Music are influenced by cognitive music theory. They analyze your listening habits, preferences, and emotional responses, and they curate personal playlists that resonate with your current mood and your musical taste. So this technology is continuing to get more and more advanced, but I'm sure we'll see more of it.
Cognitive insights into how we perceive and create music have influenced the design of MIDI technology in digital instruments, making them more intuitive and responsive to the musician's expressive needs. These advancements allow for greater experimentation and accessibility in music creation, offering tools that adapt to composers' cognitive workflows and enhancing the creative process.
So we've talked about some amazing innovations in the music field, but we want you to know that the growth isn't just in theory, it's local. It's happening right here, right now. At Weatherford College, there's wonderful things happening. One example of this is the new Steinway stereo piano, which is a high-resolution player piano that combines the classic Steinway craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology.
And then we also have new audio engineering programs as well as our MIDI classes. And we're offering this as an in-depth music study with hands-on experience in music production using new technologies and sound design.
And did you guys know that Weatherford College actually started their own radio station? The Coyote, which is Weatherford College's radio station, stands as a vital community hub and a dynamic educational platform, providing students with hands-on experience in radio broadcasting and music while fostering meaningful connections with our local community. Also, some other cool things that we have going on are our new piano certification program where piano students can earn a certification and really advance their piano playing skills. Our Weatherford College Student Chamber Ensemble is another thing that we just recently started. We're growing a string program here, and also last Saturday was the sixth annual Weatherford College International Piano Competition.
All right.
So our exploration today highlights the dynamic interplay between music's cognitive impact and historical evolution. We've explored the relationship between music and the mind, understanding the impact of music and how influential it is in our lives.
As we look ahead, the fusion of these perspectives promise new insights and advancements in music theory and practice. This journey opens new avenues for research and application in music therapy, education, and technology, promising new and exciting discoveries.
So thank you all so much for attending our presentation, and we'll happily answer any questions you have.